My front door was already cracked open when I stepped off the elevator, and the light inside my apartment was on, even though I knew I had turned it off before work. For a second, I just stood there with my keys still in my hand, staring at the thin gap between the door and the frame. Nothing moved, nobody spoke, but the hallway behind me suddenly felt too quiet, and the longer I looked at that open door, the more certain I became that someone had entered before I got home. I backed away from the door instead of pushing it open. My apartment was on the 4th floor, near the end of the hallway, and only 3 people ever had reason to come that far down: me, my next-door neighbor, and maintenance. I checked my phone for missed calls from the leasing office. Nothing. No emails, no texts, no notice taped to the door. Just my apartment sitting open like somebody had left in a hurry or wanted me to think they had. I called the apartment office from the hallway. It rang 6 times before a woman answered with the tired voice they always used near closing. I told her my door was open. She asked if I was sure I had locked it. I told her I lock it every morning, same as always. She put me on hold, then came back and said there were no maintenance orders for my unit that day, no pest control, no inspection, no emergency entry. Then she said, "Do not go inside yet." That was when I heard something move in my kitchen. Not a crash, not footsteps, just the soft scrape of a drawer sliding open and shut. I stepped backwards so fast my shoulder hit the wall. The office lady asked if I was still there, but I couldn't answer. I was looking at that gap in the door, waiting for a face, a hand, anything to appear. Nothing did. The kitchen light stayed on. The apartment stayed quiet, but now I knew the door had not just been left open. Someone was still inside. My neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, opened her door 2 units down after hearing me whispering into the phone. She looked annoyed at first, then scared when she saw my face. I pointed at my door and mouthed, "Someone's inside." She stepped back into her apartment and came out holding a small metal flashlight like it was a weapon. We both waited near the elevator while the office said they were sending security. Then Mrs. Alvarez whispered something that made my stomach drop. She said, "Thought you came home an hour ago." I asked her what she meant. She said she heard my door open around 6, and then footsteps crossed my apartment. She thought it was me because whoever it was closed the door gently like they belonged there. I checked the time. I had clocked out of work at 6:13. At 6, I was still 20 minutes away. That meant somebody had entered my apartment while I was gone, stayed inside long enough to move around, and either forgot to close the door all the way or wanted me to find it like that. The security guard came off the elevator with his radio already in his hand, but the moment he saw my open door, he slowed down. He called into the unit from the hallway, "Apartment security, if anyone is inside, come out now." No answer. He pushed the door wider with his foot and stood there, listening. Then he turned to me and asked if I lived alone. When I said yes, his face changed. He told me to wait by the elevator. He went in with the flashlight raised, calling out room by room. The kitchen was empty. The living room was empty. Then he stopped at my bedroom doorway. I could see him from the hall, frozen there. He turned and asked me, "Do you usually leave your bedroom light on?" I said no. He didn't go in right away. He aimed the flashlight low, then high, then stepped inside. A few seconds later, he said my closet door was open. I almost told him that was impossible, but by then every impossible thing had already happened. Police arrived 22 minutes later. By then, the apartment had been cleared. Nobody was inside. No window was broken. The balcony door was locked from the inside. My TV was still there. My laptop was still on the desk. My wallet was still in the drawer. Whoever came in had not stolen anything. That somehow made it worse. Burglars take things. This person had walked in, moved through my home, opened drawers, turned on lights, gone into my bedroom, and left almost no reason for being there. At first I thought nothing had been touched. Then I noticed the chair at my kitchen table was pulled out. I never sat there. I ate at the counter. One of my mugs was in the sink with a wet ring at the bottom. My bathroom hand towel had been used. My bedroom closet door was open, just wide enough for someone to stand behind it, and on my bed, placed neatly in the center of the pillow, was my spare key fob. That fob was supposed to be inside a small box in my closet under winter clothes. I had put it there when I moved in. I had never used it. I had never shown anyone where it was, but someone had found it, taken it out, and placed it on my pillow like a message. The officer asked who had access to my apartment before: maintenance, office staff, maybe a contractor during move-in. But nobody should have known about that spare fob unless they had been inside long enough to search. The next morning, the leasing office let me watch the hallway camera footage. At 5:58, a man in a dark hoodie stepped off the elevator. His head was down, but he wasn't hiding from the camera. He walked straight to my door like he knew exactly where he was going. He did not knock. He did not hesitate. He used something at the lock, opened my door, and stepped inside. The door shut behind him. 47 minutes later, it opened again. He left empty-handed. The office manager kept replaying the footage like the answer would appear if she watched it enough times. She said the lock showed no forced entry, no emergency override was logged, no staff key was used, no maintenance fob registered. But the man had opened my door anyway. Then she froze the video when he stepped back into the hallway. For 1 second, his sleeve lifted. In his hand was a key fob with the same blue plastic tag my building used. They changed my locks that afternoon and reset my access fobs. The office kept saying it had to be an old tenant, but my unit had been vacant before me for months because of repairs. Then Mrs. Alvarez called me over and showed me something on her phone. It was a photo from 3 weeks earlier, taken through her peephole because she thought it was strange. A man was standing outside my door, not knocking, just looking at the lock. He wore the same hoodie from the camera. On his chest was a faded badge that said Carlos. The leasing office said nobody named Carlos worked there anymore. 2 days later, security found something in the 4th floor storage room near the stairwell. The door was supposed to stay locked, but the latch had been taped from the inside. Behind stacked paint buckets and old carpet rolls, they found an empty fast food cup, a phone charger, and a folded printout of the building floor plan. My apartment number was circled, so was the stairwell door closest to my unit. The police took it, but nobody could tell me how long that room had been used or how many nights someone had been sitting just down the hall from me. I moved out before the end of the month. The apartment let me break the lease quietly, which told me more than any official explanation did. They said the man had once worked for a subcontractor and may have kept an old access device. They said the fob system had been updated. They said I was safe now. But the last night I went back to collect my boxes, there was a sticky note on the inside of my bedroom closet door. It had not been there when police searched the room. It only had one sentence written on it. "You came home early?" I still think about that sentence more than the open door, more than the camera footage, more than the spare fob on my pillow, because it meant he had a plan for what would happen if I came home later. It meant I interrupted something, and it meant the stranger who entered before I got home knew my routine better than I did. So tell me what you would have done if you found your door open and heard someone inside. Share your real experiences in the comments, like the video, subscribe to This Horror Real, and turn on notifications so you never miss another This Horror Real story.